Today marks 1 month since that toxic train derailment in East Palestine, Ohio. Still, questions remain about what happened and what's going to happen. Here's Josh Croup with Why It Matters.
Things haven't been the same in parts of eastern Ohio and western Pennsylvania since February 3rd, around 8:55 p.m. Now, a lot has happened in and around East Palestine since then. A train derailed, residents evacuated, explosions were feared, a controlled release of chemicals was conducted. People started returning home, people started reporting illnesses, Norfolk Southern started paying up, more federal help showed up. A health clinic opened, the former president visited, so did the transportation secretary, who called for change. Crews started removing hazardous waste, then stopped, found new disposal sites, then started again. Through it all, residents have demanded information. For weeks, environmental officials have said the water and air are safe. Some residents, some activists still aren't buying it.
I'm sorry, something is not right here.
There's been no shortage of information or misinformation. There's been no shortage of frustration, like at a town hall Thursday night with Norfolk Southern and the EPA.
We're going to clean up the site.
There's been no shortage of national news coverage, especially after images of that toxic plume went viral. But after 1 month, what happens next? Testing will continue, cleanup will continue, state and federal investigations will pick up, the national media will inevitably pack up. The government and the rail company assure residents they won't. The plea this week from the state senator who represents the area to those officials.
It is a marathon. And please don't leave us. Please stay with us. We can heal. We can be whole again.
Toledo could have been East Palestine. This disaster could have happened anywhere. A lot has happened in a month. But what happens next, what change happens next, is worthy of your attention. And that's why it matters. Josh Croup, 13 ABC, Action News.
Early voting began this week for Ohio's statewide special election. There's only one issue on the ballot, Issue 1, but groups on both sides of this debate are spending millions to let you know the election has consequences for a number of issues. Here's Josh Croup with Why It Matters.
Politicians to call a special election this August.
There's a lot of noise out there about Issue 1, and it's about far more than just one issue. But what issues? It depends on who you listen to. On one side, you hear the August 8th special election is about affecting efforts to protect abortion access, funding public schools, and ending racial violence. On the other side, it's about preventing abortions on demand, unlimited sex changes for kids, gun rights, and parents' rights. Let's zoom out and remind you what you're actually voting on with Issue 1. A yes vote will make it harder to change Ohio's Constitution, raising the threshold for issues to pass from a simple majority to 60%. It would also make the process to collect signatures to put an issue on the ballot for citizens more difficult. That's why you're hearing about every other issue under the sun here, because this could impact future efforts for citizens to change laws through constitutional amendments. But one issue rises to the top.
This election is 100% about abortion. Rather than having a fair election about abortion rights in Ohio, Ohio Republicans are once again trying to rig the game.
Ohioans will likely vote in November on whether to make abortion a constitutionally protected right. If Issue 1 passes, abortion would need 60% support instead of 50% on election day to pass. That's why Republicans scheduled this special election for August 8th, ahead of that vote in November. But the GOP public messaging isn't always going directly after abortion.
That's what the Democrats want to make it about. They think that's a winning message for them. It's not. For us, it comes down to protecting our Constitution from special interests and outside groups.
Friday, the group Protect Women Ohio announced a $2 million ad buy in support of Issue 1, but the ad doesn't mention the Constitution.
Trans ideology in classrooms and encourage sex changes for kids.
As some anti-Issue 1 groups advertise abortion as the issue at the heart of the election.
They're trying to rig the rules to lock in Ohio's extreme abortion ban.
Still, at the end of the day, it is one issue on the ballot that can have a domino effect on other issues. And that's why it matters. Josh Croup, 13 Action News.
This week, Ohio's former House Speaker and GOP chair were found guilty in what prosecutors called the largest corruption case in Ohio history. The verdict could have effects that extend beyond Ohio politics. Here's Josh Croup with Why It Matters.
They say more money, more problems. Bring on the problems, said former Ohio House Speaker Larry Householder, who for 2.5 years has insisted money he took was no big deal. But a jury of his peers convicted him and former state GOP chair Matt Borges this week in a pay-to-play bribery scheme. Over the past 7 weeks, federal prosecutors explained in court how the two men secretly funneled $60 million from First Energy through a nonprofit organization to help elect Householder as Speaker, a position he used to pass a bailout bill for failing coal and nuclear power plants. Householder argued this was politics as usual and didn't expect this verdict.
Why were you surprised?
Oh, because I'm not guilty.
Political corruption has been around ever since there's been political history.
Was this politics as usual? It kind of has been, though maybe not to this extent. In 2010, the U.S. Supreme Court decision in the Citizens United case opened the floodgates for so-called dark money in politics, allowing businesses and big donors to secretly support candidates through nonprofit groups. But prosecutors showed Householder's group went a step farther, detailing how he and Borges personally benefited financially from it, saying the ex-speaker sold the state house.
It's a real warning about the trouble you can get into trying to use these new channels that became available for fundraising in the post-Citizens United world.
This new campaign finance world may now have some limits because of this verdict. And at the end of the day, big money is still spent in politics to influence how your representatives act once they get into office. But as we saw this week, more money, more problems. And in this case, one problem is a maximum of 20 years in federal prison. And that's why it matters. Josh Krupp, 13 ABC Action News.